Okay, in this episode, I speak with my friend Paul Julian. He's practiced the infinite banking concept since 2012, and he's leading by example and has actually put into practice Nelson's even distribution of age classes. So we had fun, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you for listening. Okay, welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery, and I'm always excited to have guests on, and I'm really excited today because I have a client that he's 12 years, or no, wait, he became a client in 2012, Paul Julian. We become friends. Very cool guy. Got a great story and a great background, and that's why he's here, and he's willing to share that with us. So I think we're going to have fun, and I hope you enjoy it. Welcome, Paul Julian. Can I even mention your last name?
You may, certainly.
Back that up.
Paul Wayne Julian, if you need that.
Well, Paul, thanks for coming in.
It's great to be here.
Just, I would like the listeners to know a little bit about you, who you are, and, what you do and why it really matters to them. And here, let me say this, and I don't want to, give your whole background because he's legitimately interesting and a cool guy. But we met about at least 9 years ago. So you've been a client for 9 years, right? Yes.
Well, that's the number you got. And I started listening to you, heard you on a audio interview before that. So it was at least a year before that I came across you.
And I would like to get into that because today, comparatively, there's so much more information that's available today. And I'm not saying that it's all good, but I think most of it is. You go back 10 years and there just wasn't as much information out there. There's a couple of radio advertisers, and then it was Nelson being hosted around the country doing his 10-hour seminar. And typically, if you weren't present there, then you didn't really hear the message. So just let's start back there and bring us up to date, if you don't mind.
About me or about how I heard about you?
Or about how you heard about the infinite banking concept.
Okay.
Right.
Started in real estate investing in the early 2000s, and had started going to some meetups in Dallas. There weren't called meetups then. Yeah. It was just once a month meeting, for a real estate investor group. And so I ran across a gal there called Jackie Lang, and I also ran across her mentor, Jack Miller.
Yeah.
So
who's
big real
no
estate
longer
guy.
with us, Jack Miller's.
Man, I still got all his old tapes. I love hearing him talk, and I need to start re-listening to his stuff. But Jackie started doing, she didn't call it a podcast, it was just an audio interview, and I would download those when I was driving back and forth to work and listen to them. And one of those was you and Ebb on talking about the infinite banking concept and Nelson Nash. And I remember listening to it. It was like an hour long. And I was like, God, I got to listen to it again. I like stuff that's different. I like stuff that's out of not just the normal, it's thinking differently. And then I did listen to it again. And then at some point either saw y'all speak or just got in touch with you and got some books and was reading, and you were kind enough to walk me through it, and started with my policy. And my son-in-law and daughter, they both have policies. I've got policies on 5 grandkids. And
I wasn't sure. This morning, I was just trying to look at your original policy to find the date of issue kind of thing, and that was 2012, right? And I don't even know how many policies you have,
right?
Or
like I said, I've got mine, and I've got 5 grandkids from age 6 to 4 months. We just got Truett's set up, so you're legitimately doing the even distribution of age classes that Nelson speaks about in this first book, or writes about, and becoming your own banker, page 71, I believe. Wow.
Because he used to say every time grandbaby's born, there's 4 policies fired up, or two, I'm sorry. Him and Mary purchased one on their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren, and then the parents would purchase them, and then really both sets of the grandparents. So a lot of policies were.
Right.
And so you're doing that, and I'm very appreciative of that. Because we can talk about it all day long, and it's all conversation until somebody writes a check. And you've written a lot of checks over the years. But, if I go back to, Jackie Lang, Ebb's he's a former board certified general surgeon, and he interned under DeBakey, Bentop Hospital in Houston. Okay. Great guy. He became a client, and he was a big real estate investor and still is. And then he was a client for maybe a couple of years, and he kept referring people, and he's like, I want to become an agent. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So he became an agent, and excuse me, that was my connection to Jackie Lang, and her real estate group was Eberhard. And we did a couple of phone recordings, excuse me, and we did a presentation, I think, in Las Vegas or somewhere. And so that was my memory of the background. And then, too, I remember driving out to West Texas, meeting a client or something, and I had a phone call with you. Okay. And that was one of my first memories of us talking. And it's a great joy to experience when the light bulb comes on with people, and then they get past the word life insurance, and they get past, all of the conventional financial advice and activities, and see beyond that and what can be done with this. And
well, I like your style. I like the talks that you've given. I'm fortunate enough to see you and Nelson Nash several times. And, just some of the things, one thing you told me that I've talked to, sitting around the fire station table, just talking about talking about IRAs and the government-sponsored plans and all. Why don't they just cut my taxes if they want to let me? Just cut my taxes. Just don't tax me everything. The whole tax deal has just gotten me. It's just gotten me.
I left that out. He's a retired fireman. So can I tell him where?
Yeah, how about I do it? I was worked with Dallas Fire Department for 37 plus years. Retired in May of this year.
Well, thank you and congratulations. Are you busier now than ever?
I am. Like I said, it's been, 5 months almost? Yeah, 5 months. And had a 5th grandbaby and a busy summer.
That puts a whole new perspective on life, doesn't it?
It does, for sure. Man, you watch them and they are just, it's so fun to, I don't think I paid enough attention when my kids were little.
Yeah.
I was working.
Yeah.
But it's fun to have the time to sit back and just be calm and not in the rush of, and just watch them and just see how eager they are to learn and growing up doing stuff. So.
When you were still working, I know you got a lot of pushback, potentially from the firehouse or the people you're sharing with. But you did put together a group, and I spoke in front of a room full of firemen.
I did.
And
I had made an attempt to, like I said, Dallas Fire and Police pension went through a bit of a crisis over the last 10 years for sure. But it started long before that, and I had put together a little training at the association hall, and I still have in fact, I looked it up recently or just came across it, and the headline of the deal that I sent out to all the fire stations were, "Are you worried yet?" And it talked about the pension deal, and we set up a thing for you to talk to, and it was, I'm not a big event promoter, but I did try to get the word out there, and I had a good response from the people that did attend. I have no idea if anybody ever became a client, but I appreciate you spreading the word.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and we did get new clients from there.
Good. Awesome.
And it was about typical, and I think that was even recorded, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was.
I think you did audio for sure. Well, I don't remember.
Yeah. But we haven't ever released it anywhere.
Okay.
But there was, we got some fabulous clients from that, as a matter of fact.
Good.
When the pensions are underwater.
Right.
They've been underwater, and it's going to get worse. Oh, wait a minute. You can't guarantee 7, 8, and 9% rates of return, and that's what most of the pensions are built on. And then the pensions are forced to buy government bonds. Right. Think about this, right? And U.S. Treasuries and all-time 6,000-year low in interest rates. I mean, 6,000 years of recorded history in the lowest interest rate environment ever. And a certain amount of these, all of the pensions have to buy a certain amount of government bonds, but then they have to use the 7, 8, and 9% actuarial rates of return to deliver the promises, and they can't do that. And one of the biggest parts of the life insurance business today is pension risk transfer. Right. All of these companies can't guarantee the pension, so what do? They go sell that whole block of business to a life insurance company, and those bean counters know how to deliver a pension, but it won't be at a 5% rate of return. That's
what frustrated me. And I actually ran for the pension board once, and like I said, I'm not a big promoter, and I was not as vocal as I should be, but I was talking about, and it was really too late even then when I ran, but the dominoes were already falling for the police and fire pension, but people just didn't want to hear what I felt like was the truth, and well, a lot of people did, but nobody really on the board. And they would say everything is, well, we got an actuary, and they said it's fine. But then I'll say, okay, but what if I'll say all your lines go up? I said, what happens if we shoot at just one down year? Yeah. And then they go, oh, yeah, no. But
all the numbers on the right side of the page change.
As long as you spread the liability, where no one person or no one party can be said, well, they just shuffle it around enough to where nobody's to blame. But the working guys get the brunt of it.
Mm-hmm. And the new guys get nothing near what y'all were promised.
Right. That is correct.
Wait, but neither do y'all.
That's right. And that is the big deal. I feel like I have to replace the blessing that I have as far as fire department pension, but I don't trust it.
Yeah.
I do not trust it. And what they say you get today is they could change it next month. And so I like listening to people like you and looking at products like this to work on replacing what somebody else says I get to have with something a little more under my control.
Yeah. If you're going to take a risk, you might as well, if you can, take the risk that you have some control in. Right.
Right.
So have you done some real estate deals or activities?
I have. We'd talked about that. You and I had when I first got into it, and I have done that. I have several odds and ends through usually using the cash values as either a down payment or something, or some way to fund a project. And then I'm really kind of surprised you asked me to come on the podcast, because I haven't been great about paying those loans back up to this point, but it's coming.
Well, you have an opportunity, right? You can repay a loan at any time.
I do. Yes.
You can only pay a premium annually. Right. So, premium does have priority, in my opinion, over loan repayments. However, you can't let the loans grow out of control.
Right.
And your loans are not out of control. I don't want to.
Well, I need to do better.
And we can all do better. No question about that. And then too, you continue buying policies.
Right.
you continue paying premium, not only on your policy, but all the other policies that you own. And then I don't even know if you own, I don't think, and I don't want to cross any bounds, but I mean, just the people around you, you've caused other family members to get involved, and not from forcing position. It's like you're doing it, you're leading by example, and you're just sharing that with them. And some get it, some don't. But it just seems to me like you're doing, you've got a pretty good influence on your family.
I think so, and I think it's our family in general is pretty long-term oriented with stuff, and my daughter Sean and her husband Tyler, they've really done well with it. And
yes, they have. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Tyler. Son, I hope they listen, but they got to listen more than 15 minutes to hear
my son Shay and his wife Jennifer. They didn't really understand it, and but we do have policies on both their kids, so they're going to see the benefits of that and everything down the road. So I enjoy getting my deals where I got to put another. I enjoy writing those checks to fund those policies for them, because they call me PJ and call Melissa Missy. So PJ and Missy, they'll be thanking us. Your
grandbabies call you that, PJ and Melissa?
Missy, PJ and Missy.
PJ and Missy.
Yeah.
Perfect. I've never met your wife until this morning. That was fun.
She's a cool gal.
Well, she would have to be to hang around you.
She's forgiving too, so
praise God.
Yeah.
We all need grace. Right?
For sure.
So I was kind of going back to, back in the day when you didn't really have the opportunity to hear as many podcasts and as many people talking about the infinite banking concept, the idea that you can become your own banker. And I know today, what I call noise, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of noise in every industry. And I'm not talking about what I'm saying is there's a lot of good information out there, but I am not talking about all of those exotic illustrations that just merely focus on the rate of return, and trying to improve or bolt on or make better the work of Nelson.
All right.
I'm not talking about those. Okay. All right. But there is good information out there, no question. But back whenever you were first exposed to it is because you were active in real estate.
Right. And you just kind of stumble across stuff, and hopefully you, like I said, I just picked up, man, I got to listen to that again and get more information. So sometimes just stumbling through, you find a gem.
It's the same thing today. I mean, I think you've got to step over there's more to step over today to get to the truth. Right. But once you step over that, when you get to the truth, it's pretty much going to lead you to Birmingham, Alabama, in my opinion.
Right.
And then it'll lead you here. It should lead you here. All right. That's the only plug I'm going to put in there.
Well, I'll do a plug for you. Okay. I'm going to plug you because my wife, Missy, she is all about planning. And I told her that anytime anything should ever happen to me, and she's wondering what to do with whatever, just ask James Neathery. Yeah. Whatever he would do, it'll be the right way to go. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So now, I mean, I hope you're here a very long time.
Me too.
Right? But if she ever calls me, I'll know her now. I'll recognize her.
Yeah.
That reminds me though, Paul, I was at a volleyball game. Riley, our youngest child, is in 8th grade, and she's volleyball team. And so I don't miss any volleyball games. And I was walking into the gym a couple of weeks ago, and I hear this lady say, James. And, there's a crowd of people, and I'm just narrow-minded, just going to my bleacher. And James, and I turned around, and there's a client. She's been a client for 15 years, right? And she's standing there and, say hi, give her a hug, how are you? And she says, and her granddaughter was playing on the opposite team, right? And she's standing there with her son and her daughter-in-law. And she says, James, I want you to meet my son. And we turned around and she introduced us and she told him, she said, if something ever happens to me, you need to call James because he knows where all the money is and knows everything that's going on. Yeah. And the son said, well, I'm glad somebody does. I don't know anything about the money. And I said to the son, I'm like, that's generally the way it is. So don't feel like the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, that's really the way it's supposed to be. There's a reason for that.
Right. Is there anything that you would tell the listener that is maybe newly exposed to this idea that you could potentially become your own banker?
I think there's a lot of books. You've got a table full of books, and that's the way I started because I'm a slow reader.
Me too.
I highlight when I read. I got the important stuff. So just get a few books, start wading through it, ask a lot of questions because James is very patient and has the experience to, put it in a understandable way. So you can get caught up in the math and the illustrations and this and that, but I like dealing with the principles rather than all the numbers and all that stuff. But the principles are what led me to want to get involved in it. And you're good at explaining those and why this would be a benefit to families and to estates and why you need to have something that's not controlled by the government as much. That was a big deal for me too.
I appreciate that. But you're kind of a numbers guy too. If I remember, you can run a pretty mean spreadsheet.
I can do a little bit, but Tyler's better at it than I am. You might get some Mesquite Fire Department. I mean, he's selling this. He's talked to a lot of guys at the Mesquite Fire Department.
Is he a fireman?
Mm-hmm. About almost 5. It's either 5 years ago or July was 5 years, something like that. And he's
there you go, Tyler.
Firefighter and paramedic with Mesquite. And often he'll talk about somehow it comes up and he brings up his policies and what they're doing with them. And you might want to see about putting on a program on Mesquite Fire Department. So,
I go only where called. So, but I do.
He might be able to get you, hook you up.
Efforts to be worthy to be called, and that's literally read. And you've kind of talked about that in the past, but so I agree. Excuse me. I'll touch on the reading, becoming your own banker. There's no substitute for that. Nelson's first book. And yep, it was printed in 2000. I get it. And this is, 2021 and soon 2022 is going to be here and 7702 calculations are going to change. I get all that. There's lots of changes that have happened since 2000 and when Nelson published the book. But his second book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, and then I promote and highly encourage the reading of How Privatized Banking Really Works. That's Dr. Robert Murphy and Carlos Lara.
Got that.
And then I also prefer, if you are visual, and audio too, but the Banking with Life DVD. I was the executive producer on that, but it's good.
I've got all those. They're all on my bookshelf.
And then the listener too, you should have in your library, you should have Nelson's 6.5 hour live presentation recording. His live presentation on DVD. And if you call my office, you can get a 20% discount on that. That is sold through and fulfilled through the Nelson Nash Institute at infinitebanking.org. Now, because a lot of people, Paul, didn't have the opportunity to hear Nelson. And you mentioned earlier, I know you've heard him several times.
Yep. He's fun. He's a fun man to talk to. Interesting man.
He's a pretty cool guy, wasn't he?
He was. Really was.
Yeah. And so
he always had Mary with him, right? Was it Mary?
Yeah, Mary. Generally, always. There in the last few years, sometimes she wouldn't travel with him because he would do 2 or 3 events in a row. But Mary's still with us, and
good,
beautiful lady. But Nelson was a very, very cool guy and easy to talk to, down to earth, one of the most intelligent men that I've ever known.
It was like if you didn't have a wise or didn't get to spend time with a wise grandfather or something like that. I mean, that's what it was like. You think, I think I just learned something. And
yeah, right. He always made, I feel like, and I've said it, I think, before, but he always made you feel like you could be a room full of people. There could be 300 people in the room or 50 or 100. And he made you feel like he was talking to you.
He did. He did, very much so.
And he would always stay late and come early and talk to everybody. And, and then, too, every day he would get up and answer all these emails. I'm like, man, how do you do that?
Well,
and then
he never went to the bathroom when he talked. I had to rush out. I said, dude, when is he? He has got to go to the bathroom. I mean, he needs a restroom break. Give this man a restroom break.
That's what you'd have to, when he'd start talking, you would have to stop him.
You would.
And right. He turned into an absolute camel. He did not have to go to the restroom.
I remember thinking, wow, I've been twice, and he hadn't even made a move. So.
I used to, and we would not give him a hard time, but we would talk about that. It reminded me of the days way back, 25 years ago when I'm driving all over the state of Texas. I could drive 10 or 12 hours without stopping. Today, not so much,
I blame mine on the fire department. I was always just scared I would get a run and get called out on a call and not be able to go. So at the first just go to the restroom. Never pass up a potty.
So you trained your body not to
I
be
think I did. Yeah, it's costing me now. So I've got to,
yeah, right. Well, look, you mentioned the iron. Okay, so we're in Alvarado, Texas. You're from East Texas.
Athens, yeah.
Okay, Athens. And y'all happen to be here this weekend. I know I'd like to say you came just for the podcast, but you didn't.
I would have.
But thank you. But you're down here to do something. You're a pretty athletic guy. I mean, you're like muscle arm paper boy. You work out every day.
I do actually work out every day. Something. It
shows.
Something. But we are, Melissa and I are doing a Spartan race this weekend.
What is that? It sounds tough.
It's something you should just look up. Joe DeSena and the Spartan.com and the Spartan movement. And they do, it's like an obstacle course racing kind of deal. Melissa's doing a trail run, which so they've added that in the last few years. So she's doing the trail run and I'm doing the obstacle course racing. And this is the shortest. They're different length of courses. They're usually, some are done at stadiums around the country, but most of them it's at a ranch out here, out in the country somewhere. You're going to get wet, you're going to get muddy, you're going to get sore, you're going to get tired, and it's climbing ropes, crawling under barbed wire, jumping over fences, just all types of things to get you out and test yourself a little bit physically, a little bit mentally, and try to make you more Spartan-like.
It sounds like it's endurance and agility.
It is. And I've got some guys, some older buddies of mine that I'm trying to get, and I had them signed up. But then the COVID deal hit and they shut down all the races, and so I haven't got them back. They're in their 60s and 70s, and I don't know if I could do it. I said, if you went to one race, even if you just went to watch, and you saw the people that were there doing it and the kind of the things that they were overcoming to do a race, I can do that.
Yeah,
you just got to get to one. And in fact, this weekend, there's a gentleman named Paul LaChance, and he is completing 8 trifectas. So a trifecta is a short, a medium, and a long race in a year. He's doing 8 of those, 24 total races, and tomorrow is his final race to cap off the 8 trifectas in a calendar year, and he turned 80 this year.
Wow.
So, and that's going to be fun to see him.
And so you have no excuse of what I just
8
heard.
at 80. That's what his shirt says. 8 at 80.
8 at 80.
Yep.
That's pretty strong.
So anyway, physical, got to stay physically, financially, and
I agree. Spiritually is okay too.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Spiritual, physical,
I do good.
professional.
I mean, I got out of bed early, but I slept late. I generally get up several times a week at 3:50 in the morning
Really?
to do my little workouts with
Okay, that's awesome. Get knocked out. You feel better when you get it knocked out and out of the way, and just kind of start your day off.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Are you familiar with Camp Gladiator?
Yes.
So I used to do that for about 4 years, and then it kind of fell apart in our area. And then the trainer, we all became friends, and so there's a group of us that privately get together. So he's certified, and his wife's certified, and they're absolute beasts and young and healthy. You know,
I taught CrossFit for a few years too, there in Athens, at a gym. That was fun. That was part of my deal about getting back into shape and testing myself.
they do that, and I'm like, my joints can't handle some of that.
You're right. And that's the deal about CrossFit. Everything's scalable. Nobody starts
Right.
at the top. So,
Oh yeah, I modify the.
modify.
That's it. We call it the success option.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, is there anything else you want to cover on infinite banking, the infinite banking concept?
I'm just thrilled you asked me to talk to you about it, and I'm a proponent of it. I espouse it to my family, and I'm excited that they're doing a big part of it. And I hope that I'm around long enough to see the benefits that my grandkids get out of it when they're old enough to start using, accessing their policies.
Well, that's part of what Spartan would do for you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That's what I'm like. I show up. What are you doing, James? I'm just trying not to die, right? So,
What else do we have to do? Just be healthy. And
looking back, and I don't want to mention life insurance companies' names or anything like that, but you own several different life insurance companies. But overall, looking back, would you have done something different, or is it as good or better or not as good as you thought it would be? So could you speak on the results, not necessarily numerically, personally, but, whatever you'd like to share?
I wish I could have been a good enough salesman of it to convince some more family members to have seen the benefits of it. But you can't. You have relationships where that sort of, whether it's life insurance or estate planning or things like that, are just not a conversation that you feel comfortable having with certain people.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. Because maybe those are the most important. But so I would have done a little more talk. And you can't make anybody do anything.
Nah.
But I would have liked to have spread the word to other parts of my family a little better. So.
Yeah. I understand that. The way you're built, I understand why you say that. I'm the same. And it's true. I believe in today's society. When I was growing up, and I think I'm older than you, but, you could talk about some things and not others. And today, families really don't talk about money. That's really a kind of a taboo subject.
Yeah.
They don't really talk about money. And if they do, it's very segmented. Maybe the family member that's, taken care of, the parents or grandparents or what have you. But money's a very tough subject in families, no question.
Well, Melissa's side of the family, her folks and her dad passed away a couple of years ago, but her mom was really the catalyst of it, and she set things up. And she didn't get into the infinite banking stuff, but we did estate planning, and it will benefit her family.
Yep.
And mine, not so much. I'm on my side as far as parents or anything like that. So I would just be the example. I mean,
then you are
working. I try to be, whether it's the working out and being a decent husband. And
Missy was in a good attitude, so you're doing something right.
She is. She's a ball of fire. That's for sure. She is not feisty, but fierce is what she's been called.
I can completely see that.
She's fierce.
Yeah.
So, the best thing that's ever happened to me for sure.
Right.
Marry up.
How long y'all been married? No question.
Let's see.
I did too.
March of 2022 will be 38 years.
Wow. You don't even look that old, Paul. It's like, if you had hair, would it be gray?
It would be gray. I shaved this morning, so I got whacked all the gray off of it, but I do have gray hair.
Oh, perfect. Well, listen, I appreciate you very much stopping by here and sharing your time with us.
It's an honor.
Thank
you for inviting me.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. And, I had fun and hope you enjoy. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.